So welcome back to another long-term shoe review video. Today, we've got 4 to go through. So I've been racking up the miles in my recent half marathon training block, and I have got well over 100 miles in some of these shoes. One of them hasn't quite made it there yet, but we'll be going through all of these shoes in a very quick overview as to how I've been using them and showcasing how much more life I think they've got in them, and of course give you any future updates on the shoes. And we'll get stuck in with the Saucony Endorphin Elite first. Now this is obviously quite an old shoe. We've got the version 2 just around the corner, but if you guys remember, and if you've been following the channel, you'll know that I was tossing up between this and the Alphafly version 3 as to whether I was going to use it for my long run shoe or even some of the long run workouts. And I ended up favouring this shoe, even though I've got to say this midsole has gone absolutely flat as a pancake. Now visually the shoe is in very good condition. It's not looking bad at all, and I will go into more detail I think when I get over 200 miles in this shoe. I'll showcase it a little bit more, but there are a couple of things that stand out to me that have really happened since rocketing over the 100-mile mark, to the point where it very much has become a trainer. I noticed a massive difference between one race in the summer last year and the next race. I thought I was imagining things, and honestly I'm not. The midsole foam has gone absolutely flat, and despite that I still find myself reaching for the shoe even over the Alphafly version 3. I think the one thing about the shoe is I absolutely love it, to the point where I said this is my favourite racing shoe I've ever tested, and I stand by that. It is absolutely spectacular, but I'm really gutted as to how much the midsole foam has just literally fallen off a cliff. And the other thing I'll say about the shoe is the grip on it has gone absolutely useless. It might as well not be there. I found very similar stuff when I was testing my old Vaporfly version 1. I took that past its racing life, started training in it, got close to 200 miles, which is exactly where this thing is, 173 miles, and I have to say it has gone slick. So if you're not running in dry conditions and it's wet, which it is here a lot at the moment because we're in winter, I do find it to be pretty sketchy. I can't corner in it tightly. I've really got to watch where I'm putting my feet, but even so, I still am finding it pretty decent to run in. I love the geometry of this shoe. It really works for me well. I just feel like I roll through so nicely. And so yes, I'm compromising on lacking a bit of support in the foam, but I still feel like it gives me enough support and exactly what I need in those longer workouts during this half marathon training block. But how much more I'll use it, I'm not too sure. A quick update on the Novablast version 5, because you probably will get a 200-mile update video on this one, so I won't go into too much detail, but I'm in and around 178 miles at the moment. So again, this has really become my favourite daily trainer at the moment, but I will say it's definitely not the magic that it was in the first instance. I have found since going over 100 miles, probably more so around the 130, 40, it has lost a little bit of that bounce that I was experiencing. It's definitely one of those shoes now. I feel like in the beginning I was like, wow, this is slightly on the heavier side, but I feel like I could still work out in this shoe, and I thought it was so versatile and it was really, really good, but I feel like I couldn't do that now. I feel like it hasn't quite got that bounce that it had. It's got the cushion and it still feels really nice, and I'm still gravitating towards it over any other shoe in my rotation. But I will be honest with you, I have noticed that slight deterioration in the bounce in the midsole, which is surprising because I never experienced that in version 1 or even version 2. Otherwise though, this thing is holding strong. The build quality as always is really good. Nothing going on with this shoe at all. What I usually find is some kind of wearing at the back here. I get it in a lot of Asics shoes, nothing at the moment, so fingers crossed this one will be going strong for a lot longer. And then we've got the Brooks Hyperion 2. This one I've got to 100 miles as well, and I apologise, I failed to update you on this. I hit 100 miles a few weeks ago actually. I haven't picked the shoe up for about 3 or 4 weeks because I've been doing longer workouts, and so I feel like I've been benefiting more from shoes with bigger stack and more cushion, like the Saucony Endorphin Elite. But I will be going back to this shoe when we've got the shorter, sharper stuff coming back in. Overall, I found this one to be really good. Again, build quality on the Brooks shoes are always pretty decent, and I found absolutely no issues with this whatsoever. I know it is a nice shade of brown, and it very much was a white shoe, but this is what happens when you run on the winter trails in this thing. The midsole foam is still holding nice and strong in this shoe, and I think the last workout I did in it was 8 by 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off, kind of a bit of an over-under situation there out on the trails, and it did really well. I think I covered over 12 miles. I'm not afraid to take this thing up to like 90-minute runs, half marathons, slightly beyond, but nothing really much more. I do then prefer something with a little bit more cushion, but overall I've been really impressed with this shoe. In terms of like the build quality, it's held up really well, just as per every other Brooks Hyperion Tempo, Max version 2, the original Hyperion, which I wasn't a huge fan of the original one, but this is much better. They all hold up really well, I've got to say. And in terms of grip, again, Brooks grip is really solid. I found it to be great in all weather conditions. The grip on the front there is just really, really good. I find it to be a really useful speed day shoe. I've not used it for pretty much anything else. I'm probably not going to do a 100-mile update. If I do, I'll drop it on the extra channel. But yeah, overall, it's done really, really well. And last but not least, the Mizuno Neo Vista, this absolute tank of a shoe. I'm so torn on how I feel about this thing. First runs, I wasn't blown away at all by the shoe. And then I started to work out, just like you guys said, it very much is a cruiser, and that's how I've been using it. We're up to about 90 miles in it, so just shy of 100 miles, but I'm still on the fence with this shoe. I still don't quite understand the hype. I understand why I want to use it. I do feel like I get good cushion from this shoe. The oversized stack is brilliant for those longer runs. In fact, I used it today for my 90-minute moderate steady run, and it did just fine. But the one thing I find with this shoe is the foam is just not as responsive as I thought. A lot of you guys say it's nice and soft, and I agree, it is a relatively soft foam, but it's certainly not as propulsive as other foams. Very much feels like a standard sort of EVA foam, and I know Mizuno will say it's a blend of this, that and the other, but I honestly do find like it's not that exciting. That coupled with the fact that the booty upper, which again is no problem, I enjoy it, but it gets so heavy in the wetter weather. Like this morning, right now, I was running through a lot of puddles because it's been raining a lot here at the moment, and it has just soaked everything up like a sponge. And so for this winter running, I'm not sure how good it is. I don't know, I find it good. It's okay, but it doesn't blow me away. And I'm certainly going to put my hands up now and say after 90 miles, I'm definitely still on the fence with this shoe. I don't get the original hype from the shoe. However, I do see it as a good shoe, and definitely for marathon training, I can see exactly why people would gravitate towards it. It's why I'm gravitating towards it. I am literally choosing this very similar to what I was doing in the Hyperion Max version 2 during my marathon training block last year before I got the Noosa try-in. Just those longer steady miles, and it does a good job, but I do find it to be a bit heavy, a bit clunky. Overall though, in terms of the build quality, so far we're only at 90 miles, so we don't expect to see too much, but it's holding up really well. I know these type of uppers can sometimes fit or not fit, but with someone with a wider foot like myself, it does fit quite nicely, but it's just more so how dead the midsole feels. Yes, it's soft, it's just not as propulsive, but as I said, it does the job. It makes my legs feel decent after the run, and as I said, the grip on the outsole is pretty good as well. Running in it all conditions, it's doing all right. And not that it's a long-term update at all, but the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3, my new racing shoe, that's got 39 miles in it so far. So I'm parking that now. I've got 2 workouts in it and 2 races. It is definitely going to be my racing shoe for Alicante. I've decided that, which is great. Beyond that, we'll see, because hopefully we're getting some more racing shoes in to test, depending on if Adidas release my size in February. If not, we might be using the Puma into March as well. But overall, that one's doing really well. That one's feeling really good, and that's definitely feeling fast at this stage, so early in its lifespan. And I think that's it. I've not really been running in many other shoes at the moment. I tend to find as I go through a training block that I really do home in on a set of shoes that just work well for me, and I really lock in. And to be honest with you, these are the 4 shoes right now that I've been using more so than any others. In fact, as I said, the Brooks Hyperion 2 hasn't been touched for a few weeks, but that was very prominent in the beginning of the training block. And yeah, to be honest with you, the Novablast, the Mizuno and the Saucony Endorphin Elite really have been hogging all of the miles. So there we go. Those are just some quick updates. You'll probably get a long-term update on the Elite and the Novablast when they get over 200 miles. But for the other 2, something might appear on the extra channel. I'm not too sure at the moment. I'll see if I get a chance to record anything. But other than that, that's it from me today, guys. If you want to see how I got on in my last race last weekend, do check out this video up here. Very happy with how that one went. And if you want to know more about those super shoes that I was just mentioning and hoping to pick up, check out this video down here. Some exciting ones due to be released later this year. And I'll see you over on those.